Welcome to the 1% Better Recruitment Podcast. I'm your host, Charles Kiriakou, and this is the podcast that aims to help people within the recruitment industry get 1% better after every single episode. We've had such a wide variety of different guests that come on the show that talk openly about their stories, about sharing value, tools, techniques, strategies, the good, the bad, and the ugly, all within the recruitment space. And every single episode, we like to have as much fun as possible with open conversation back and forth. It's not scripted, it's uncensored. And as I mentioned, I like to have fun doing this podcast because I know that if you're going to tune into this, you want to feel like you're part of a conversation whilst also leveling up your game within the recruitment space. So if you like this podcast, please do us all a favor. Comment, like, subscribe, follow on all the platforms. It really helps drive engagement for the show. And yeah, that's enough from me. Let's get into this week's episode, and I hope you enjoy. Emma, thank you very much for joining us on the show today. The ritual somehow has just grown into people that come around and have Greek coffee nowadays. So
why not?
And I felt under a bit of pressure because obviously we'll talk about your journey coming from Cyprus, and I thought it better be fucking good.
Well, it's actually good coffee, so it
Love
was
it.
done very nicely. Thank you.
Awesome. So before we talk about topics we'll discuss today, just tell people a little bit about who you are, what you do, your market, etc., etc.
Right, so I'm Emma April, and I'm the founder/director of HuntStart Consulting, and we're a bespoke recruitment agency. Our niche market is basically FX brokers as well as fintech companies, and we mainly focus. We do worldwide recruitment. However, like most of our clients do come out of Cyprus, which is a huge fintech and FX hub. So most of our clients are from there, as well as the UAE now as well, because everyone's like kind of like moving their businesses out there, specifically FX brokers, fintech companies as well. When I say fintech, it could be anything between like payment companies, payment gateways, or EMIs, electronic money institutions, something like Monzo, Revolut, these type of companies. And yeah, so we are a bespoke recruitment agency, so it's not one size fits all kind of thing. So like not everyone will have the same agency fee. It does depend on how large their company is. And yeah, so very well known in this industry basically. I've built a good reputation in a sense where people now come to us because of, you know, who works within this company. So not a lot of marketing has gone out, you know, like to advertise the company or whatever, you know. I've built a good reputable brand in a sense where, and I put my name on the map where people will be like, okay, you know what? We're not actually going to use HuntStart Consulting. We're actually going to use Emma. So it's always it's Emma in a sense. So in that sense, it kind of like lucky, you know, because I have been, in the industry, in the FX world for about a decade now. So I have put my name there on the map and people do know me. Yeah, so in that sense of like marketing wise and branding wise, it's known as Emma, but I do want to start putting out the name of the company as well.
Of course,
Because it's not just me.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's always the next evolution. I always say to like a recruiter that working for a business that if you're new, leverage the name of the business, but once you get a bit of experience, like they're not going to be calling the office number. People come to recruiters. I've mentioned this on the podcast that when I moved from like sales management to learning and development, I had a guy call me when I was in Thorpe Park. Just started off the call, hey Charles, it's so-and-so. I was like, hey, you all right? It's like, yeah, good, thank you. Listen, I know you did a really good job on the Southeast sales role. I need someone in the Midlands. Now, what I'm looking for, and they just started going on, I was like, dude, I don't recruit anymore. And it's like, oh, I just had your number saved, and as soon as I needed to hire someone, you were the first person. I was like, I love that, and my ego right now is just glowing.
Sky high.
But like, I don't recruit anymore, so let me just recommend you to someone. So that's good. But obviously, once you're like scaling and want to grow a business, then because I'm in the process now that I can't talk too much about it, where myself and two other guys have set something else up, and we've all got our own reputations. But to grow something that's essentially a product, sure, it helps having a personal brand, but we want to move away from that so that you don't need to be the one doing stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Like being the face of the company is fine, but up to a certain point.
Exactly.
Because at the end of the day, I'm training my agents, my recruiters, to be just as good as I am.
Yeah.
And I want them to have their own personal brand.
Yeah.
And I want companies to reach out to them and not me being their first priority in a sense.
Yeah.
So the goal for anyone who joins my company is to build them in a sense of being the best recruiter in their industry, and as well building their personal brand, because it's so important.
Yeah. And I'm sure we'll talk all about that. So look, for people tuning in, topics-wise, we've got down is your story. So as I mentioned before we clicked record, I wanted to really, go into the, like, get real understanding, because you've relocated from Cyprus.
Yeah.
The first person that I've had on that's done a relocation from Cyprus. So I want to talk a lot about that, kind of what it was like when you first got into recruitment, the story behind why you wanted to set up your own business. I know you've got some fun sort of anecdotes to share that we spoke about the first time we spoke. And then obviously, we'll just talk all about that and kind of what made you set your business up, the lessons that you've learned, and all that type of stuff.
So let's go way back, right? So when I was in Cyprus, born and raised in Cyprus, went to school there, everything, but uni, I had actually come to the UK. I was in Canterbury for 5 years, and then I finished in 2015. After that, I went back to Cyprus, obviously, to start a job. During that time, everyone, like all my friends, people I knew, friends of friends, were all starting to get into FX, like working for FX brokers. And I always knew that although I'd studied sociology and social sciences, I did want to go into HR. So I didn't want to be a sociologist because, like, whatever. And so I was like, fine, I'll just try and find a HR job in an FX broker and see what that's like. And mind you, obviously FX brokers were the kind of, at that point in time, one of the only industry paying really well. In a sense. So like I could have gone into shipping and done HR there. I could have gone into accounting firms, but I wanted to go into FX because like most of my friends were in FX and they were making good money. So I was like, hey, I want a piece of that.
Yeah, nice.
So I started my career as a junior HR officer, HR manager, working my way up to global head of HR, different and various FX brokers. Some as well were like, actually I had started in an asset management firm and then worked myself up into like FX brokers and different trading companies. And I was responsible for a big team. It was going really well and I loved it and everything. And in 2019, it was about the time where I thought, I was also in a relationship, right? And we were kind of like at the end of that relationship in a sense. Look, he ended up cheating on me, broke up with him, and I was just like, you know what? I'm actually done. I'm so done. I'm done with Cyprus. I'm done with the job I'm doing. And mind you, at the same time, I was HR manager of a company. I also had a kids' clothing store in Limassol.
Okay, cool.
And so I was running the store as well as doing, being in the corporate world, doing my HR and everything. When we broke up, obviously with my ex, I was just so done with Cyprus. I just felt like there was nothing there anymore for me. Although I had the shop, I had my friends and my family, I was just like, nah.
You wanted more, basically.
I needed more. Yeah. Something inside of me was just, I don't know what it was. It's just that I needed to get out. And I felt like something was waiting for me. I could have gone to Kent, where I had all like my friends from uni there. But I felt like I needed to come to London. And I don't know why, but it's just a feeling I can't explain. And so at the time, obviously because I was a HR manager, I had different agencies reaching out to me for them to onboard us as clients and whatnot. But I always said to them like, no, whatever. Some I would onboard, some no. And there was one specific company that is established here in London. And for the previous 2 years, I had obviously known of them, and, you know, they were reaching out to me in every company I was going to onboard us as clients. So when I was like done with Cyprus, I actually reached out to that agency and told them, like, look, I'm thinking to move to the UK. If you've got any roles or jobs, whatever, in HR/recruitment in London, let me know. And the guy's obviously got the CV, and he called me straight away. And he's like, look, we don't have any roles here in London, but would you be interested in doing 100% recruitment here with us? And I was like, I'm not sure, because I don't know if I want to be in an agency, because obviously I was doing in-house. I was doing HR and / obviously recruitment in-house. So I wasn't sure. But the guy sold me.
Good recruiter.
He sold me, yeah, very good recruiter. And it was also my ticket here.
Yeah.
Like a ticket in a sense. And then I had the interview, like the first one, initial call and everything. Then I had with the other founder of that company. Went really well. They sent me an offer. I was like, great, we're moving to London. So this was in October of 2019. And then December 2019, 23rd of December, I move over. And get here. Obviously, I didn't know anything. All I knew was like the West End. I knew how to get to Oxford Street, Piccadilly Circus, Regent Street. I knew all of that. But everything else, I had no idea. And mind you, my brother was also studying here at the time. So he was living somewhere in Bounds Green.
Yeah, classic.
You know, every Cypriot who comes to the UK has to move.
What did I tell you before? My butt came here to Bounds Green.
Every Cypriot moves to either Bounds Green, Wood Green, Palmer's Green, all the greens.
Yeah.
Potter's Bar. So anyway, North London. And he was here studying, and I basically said to him, look, I've got a job offer and I'm coming over and we're going to live together. And so I found a house in Wood Green.
Yep, shock.
So we moved to Wood Green together. And so all of that was happening in December. So the Christmas period was the first Christmas away from the whole family. Thankfully, my mum did come during that time of the transition of obviously moving over. And I think it was like the 6th of January of 2020, I started this new job, right? Mum left, obviously now it's adulthood kind of thing. Course. Although I was 25 when I started like into my corporate world and everything, and I came over when I was like 28 or something. It just felt like my adulthood had started only here in London. Yeah. Because back home in Cyprus, you've got your family. You live with them until like God knows when. Yeah.
Most of my family in Cyprus, even if they move out, they move next door.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like...
Yeah, like lunch, dinner, breakfast is always ready for you. Everything is in arm's reach. Yeah. So moving over, obviously, and so far away from your family and your parents and everything, it was just culture shock as well.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Anyway, so I started this new job, found my way around, obviously, how to get to this office, and go in induction, all of that stuff, and it was very weird for me, very very weird. It was also to be honest, all right, let me just open plan offices, right? Yeah. Not my thing. Okay. At all. Yeah. And obviously I was HR, so I had always had my own... Your own office, yeah. My own private office, right? And coming into an open plan office for me was just like, yo, I can't do this. I don't like it. It's weird. Although the sales floor of the companies I was working at was open plan, for me, my introduction to the corporate world was always a private office. Everything is done in secret because, you're in HR and this and that. So it was very weird for me. But okay, you just go with it. Anyway, so throughout the day, obviously we had our lunch break, this, that, the other. My first day didn't go so well. Let's just say that, right? At the time, I was also smoking, like cigarettes, rolling cigarettes.
And everyone in Cyprus, it's just
Yeah.
what they do.
And I had basically, gotten up to go have a cigarette outside. It was like the middle of the workday. And one of the founders was like, "Oh, where are you going?" And mind you, I was also sitting right next to him,
Yeah,
right?
of course.
And he's like, "Oh, where are you going?" I was like, "I'm just going to go have a cigarette." And he goes, "Oh, no, we don't do that around here." And I was like, "Well, what do you mean? Can I not go have a cigarette?" And he goes, "No." And I was like, "Okay." So anyway, I got up, got my stuff, and I left. I was like, "What do you mean we're not allowed to bloody have a cigarette?" I was like, "Fuck this place." And I quit. And I left, and I went.
So, looking back, you must be thinking it's quite irrational, really, isn't it?
It was. It's like, because I'm not getting my way. What do you mean? Like, I need a cigarette. What are you on about? It's like recruitment. It's like, what the hell? I was on the phone all day and replying to emails and trying to. I need a cigarette at this point. As well as like, if you're a smoker and you're like an addict to it, you need it, right? Anyway, and I left, and obviously I didn't know where to go. All I knew was how to get to the West End, kind of thing, right? And home. And thankfully we were under the office space. We had Pret, a coffee shop, obviously.
Yeah, of course.
And I went and sat there, and then the founder calls me, and he's like, "Oh, where are you?" And I was like, "I left." And he goes, "Well, where did you go?" And it's like, "I quit." And he goes, "Well, where are you?" And I was like, "I'm downstairs in Pret." And he goes, "Oh, okay." So he comes downstairs to find me.
Yeah.
He sat with me, and he's like, "Oh, you know what? Sorry, like, because I'm not a smoker, I didn't think about, about you like needing to have a cigarette or whatever." I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." And he goes, "Please just rethink about it and, come back upstairs and join us and everything." And it was wrong of me, obviously, to say, like, you can't have your own breaks or whatever. And I get it. I get it, like me as well. I would probably be like, "Oh, now that I don't obviously smoke cigarettes, I vape, but I don't smoke, cigarettes." But understanding the other person, if they wanted to go have a smoke, it's fine, kind of thing. But anyway, so I thought about it. I was like, "Yeah, fine." Went back upstairs, started again, all cool. But thinking back, what I did was just like insane. Because like, I basically moved my whole life, sold the shop that I had, rented out my house in Cyprus, sold my car, and here's me quitting on my first day because the guy won't let me go have a cigarette. It's mad.
That is quite mental.
Yeah. Anyway, and that was that really, like the first day and everything. But we always talk about it with the founders because although I left and started my own thing, it was always a thing of like, do you remember your first day? How everything happened?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I've learned a lot with them there. It was a pleasure working with them. And if it wasn't for them, I don't think I would obviously be where I am today.
Yeah.
I basically set up the whole Cyprus desk for them there and built their brand to what it is, not to what it is today, but the Cyprus desk in a sense. I built it there for them and all of that. So I'm actually glad I had done that because that also showed me that if I did all of this for you,
you could do it for yourself.
I could do it for myself.
100%.
And 100 times better, because there's always that little bit of resentment in a sense. Why am I doing all of this for you when I could do it for me in that way? But look, there's two types of people. There's the people who don't mind working for someone else for the rest of their lives, and that's completely fine.
100%.
And then there's other people who have the itch to be their own entrepreneurs and all of that stuff. And every time I would do something for that company, it would always be this thing of, you could do this for yourself as well. It's like little.
Now I've had that since I was in secondary school, where I've talked about this on the podcast before, that being told off and cornered by two teachers for,
Yeah.
you know, selling Coke cans and chewing gums, and then having to open my locker in front of the head of year, and then there's like stacks of Coca-Cola, and they're like, have you got, literally like I'm a drug dealer, I was like, have you got any more product on the premises? And I used to pay other people in school to store product in their lockers. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I used to pay other students because someone was selling Pepsi, and I was like, I see a gap in the market.
Yeah,
I'm going
there
to
you
sell
go.
Coca-Cola. So I'd sell Coca-Cola, and obviously I was a small kid in school. So he's like, if I catch you selling Coca-Cola, I'm going to beat you up. I was like, what? I need security. Who's the biggest, scariest kid? You. If this kid's going to beat me up, I'll give you 3 Coca-Colas if you can just protect me. Like, yeah, sound. So every single time that kid comes along, I was like, oh yeah.
Entrepreneurial, like,
that
itch
yeah,
kind of thing.
100%. But when I got into recruitment, like, because obviously since doing this podcast, I've interviewed dozens of founders, and there's a lot of similarities. But for me, I always thought to myself, could I set myself up a recruitment firm? Is that something that I could see myself being super passionate about? And I think half. And I always say to people that if you're thinking about setting up a business, don't do it just for money.
Yes, 100%.
Because if you just do it for money, it's a fast track to burnout and depression, in my opinion. Because right now, if I thought about, say this is a recruitment podcast, and then I've got to go back upstairs to do LinkedIn projects and stuff, because again, we'll go into the weeds of like your recruitment process and stuff. But recruitment, like if you really break down the recruitment job, 80-90% of it is pretty fucking boring and mundane.
Yeah, 100%.
In respects that you're sending similar type messages, you're having the same types of calls. Yeah, you're speaking to new people, you're going to events, you're building communities, but to be a really successful recruiter, you've got to do the boring shit consistently. And in my last couple of years of doing the job of recruitment, I just remember, because I was leading a team, so I was doing my coaching and I was doing my training sessions, and I loved that. And then when the pandemic hit and I had to just go back to 360, and it was like, well, I've already got this t-shirt and I'm putting it back on again. I'm like, right, I've been there, I've done that. Like, and then doing the mundane bullshit tasks again for someone else. And I'm thinking, I don't know, man, I'm not getting that itch. I want to do something where, like we spoke before about the podcast, like I'm not okay, I've won a good amount of clients from it, and it you know, the return on investment's been amazing, but I don't get paid to do an episode. I don't get ad revenue. But because it's so different every time, and I enjoy that aspect of it, and it's a creative outlet on top of the sales calls, the client meetings, the content, there's just so many things. So for me, largely what I do, and like with anything, there are going to be things that you don't want to do. It's enjoyable, but it's going back to your point, and the reason why I've kind of talked through that sort of anecdote is when I was in contract recruitment, I said to myself, by the time I turn 30, I want to be a director at a company or do my own thing.
Yeah.
And then when I got unfairly dismissed from that company, I had this amazing recruiter called Heidi, and I said to her, like, I want to work with one more business, and I want to actually have a manager that cares about me, because I've never had a manager that's good or cares about me. And then that's me. And then I'm going to do my own thing, whether it's a recruitment firm or some sort of business. I'll sort that out. And I worked for a company called Projectors for 6 years. And the founder, Tim, he was like a father figure to me. Like he literally, I'd come into work and like he was like a dad, but a good and a positive role model. He had 2 kids. He was an entrepreneur. He was great. And then the sales director, Liam's a couple of years older than me. Just brilliant process, proper lad as well. It was just great to be around. But when that came to an end, I was like, right, I can't work for anyone else ever again. No one's going to be as good as him.
No one's going to top that kind of thing.
And I just have to do my own thing. And I wanted to set up a coaching business. I had no coaching experience. Like, okay, I had a couple of coaching sessions with some people, but I hadn't really had that much experience. And Tim said to me, go and do an L&D job for 2 years. Get your experience. You'll do coaching every single day. You'll build training documentation. On top of that, you would have 10 years of recruitment. You can set up a coaching business in the recruitment industry. I was like, amazing. Okay, cool. Joined the company. Lo and behold, both the founders were, won't say on camera, but not particularly nice people, put it that way. And it was great experience. I wouldn't be who I am if it wasn't for that. But I think sometimes in life you need to have good people and really bad people.
Yeah, 100%.
Because after that, I just thought to myself, when I set up a business,
you're not going to be like that.
I'm not going to be like that.
Exactly.
I'm not going to work with people like that.
Exactly.
And eventually, if I have a business to scale, similar to what you're doing, I'm never going to treat people the way I got treated. So it's all those experiences. You need to go through those like good and bad, right?
I get the point where you said that no one is going to top up, you know, the type of person you worked for, and then you wanted to go do your own thing, because that's exactly what I had. I couldn't go and work somewhere else anymore. It had to be like, it's done. These guys were amazing with me, and that's how I want to finish my employee kind of career and into being an employer now. But what you're saying does resonate, because obviously I had gone through that as well. But yeah, it's not an easy ride.
Oh,
It really
absolutely not.
isn't.
No, absolutely not. So talk us through that transition then, because I think it's fascinating, right? Like anyone that comes to any or goes to any country, and let's face it, the Cypriot culture and the English culture, I think there are some similarities.
Some similarities.
If you relocated to the Middle East, I know obviously like UAE is very sort of Westernifies. That's not really a word, but you know what I'm trying to say. It's
Arabic.
Like, yeah, it's Arabic, but it's like you go to. I've not necessarily been to Dubai, but a lot of people I know that work out of Dubai, and it's just like most people speak English, etc.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, if we were to relocate to Japan, for example,
Yeah, that would be super hard.
so hard,
Yeah,
because
of
no one
course.
speaks the same. Like in Cyprus, all of my family, even the ones that live in the villages, they know bits of English. It's both Christian sort of cultures.
Yeah,
It's very similar. So it's very easy for my family that have come from Cyprus to acclimatise to this culture,
Yeah.
right? But I always find it very fascinating when people are like, "Fuck, like I want to make something for myself. I'm going to
Yeah.
go to London and I'm going to go and get a job and then set up a business." It's amazing.
Yeah.
But then once you've done that 2 years building that Cypriot desk, you obviously...
I was there for 4.5 years.
Oh, sorry, four and a half years,
I
sorry.
was there for 4.5 years, and I was building all of it at that time. But saying 2 years, what you just said, in the 2 years of me being in that company was when I started getting the itch.
Yeah, okay, cool.
And then for the next 2.5 years, it was always like, right, Emma, if not now, when? If not now, when? And I was always paralyzed by fear. For 2.5 years.
Okay.
For 2.5 years, I was so scared to take that leap, petrified.
Yeah.
And, you know, I would do amazing things for the company, and I would genuinely feel the happiness for the company and for my success and the successes of the company too. But it was always the resentment of, okay, well, when are you going to do it? Kind of thing.
So where did that... There's a couple of things I want to dive into on that. Where did this fear come from first?
Yeah.
And then I want to understand what the trigger point was.
Yeah.
Because for some people, you know, I got made redundant, right? Sometimes I look back and I go, fuck, I really wish I could just, fuck you, I'm gone. Do you know what I mean? And there was a few instances I can tell you about, but for some people, there's just this, like I had it as well, paralysing. I even did a business plan for a company to set up a coaching business within their business, and I didn't get it. And then you can imagine, after you do that, your soul is already there.
Yes.
All your energy's on that, and then you've got to come back to your job
Exactly.
for someone else. And I'm like,
yeah, physically I was there for those next 2.5 years, but mentally I was gone in a sense. And
so where did this fear come from? Like, and how did you overcome that?
I think it's always scary, obviously, if you think about wanting to go off and set up on your own. It's scary, like
100%.
You have a good stream of income coming in, and you know it's going to be coming in every month. If it's not commission from placements, you're at least getting your basic salary, and you know you're paying your rent, and you know you've got food on the table.
Yeah.
But what was the most frightening thing for me was leaving something that was comfortable, and am I going to make it, kind of thing? Because if I don't make it, then fuck. You know, who's going to pay the rent? Who's this and that? And mind you, when I decided to open up the company, we just bought a house.
Oh, God.
Yeah, we just bought a house. So we bought the house and moved in January of 24. And then April 2024, so that's like 4 months later, I resigned, right? And that was it. It was... you're going to either make it or break it, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, like there wasn't a huge transition, because I felt like I was mentally there for like getting it done for a few years and months leading up to it. But the hardest thing was physically leaving from my previous employer, because, you know, these guys were my best friends. They came to my wedding. We spent every day together, obviously Monday to Friday, sometimes even weekends, because, you know, like all of us will meet up and have dinners with our families and all of that stuff. But that was the hardest thing for me, basically. And the fear of leaving there wasn't because I'm fearful of I'm not going to have, you know, these people in my life anymore, whatever. It was more like am I going to make ends meet?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
And I think that's very common. I think that fear is paralysing,
Yeah,
to be honest.
very much so.
Very.
Even
That's
with
why.
my therapist I was speaking to, I was like, I want to do this, but I can't. I'm so scared. I'm paralysed with it. Help me. And she's like, Emma, you have nothing to be afraid of. Like, let's say it fucks up and it all goes to to shits. What can you do? You just go back into the workforce.
Yeah.
And when she said that to me, I was like, no, that's not going to happen, because I won't allow myself to go back into the workforce.
Yeah.
So my motivation was, I'm going to make this work.
Yeah. And it's almost like kind of, I call it the fuck you mentality.
Exactly.
Of like, when I got unfairly dismissed from that company and then started my first job in the city, I had this weird motivation of, I don't care if I do well for myself. It's kind of bad in some ways, but it drove me really well for the first 2 years of, I don't care if I do well for me, my family. I want my old boss to go on LinkedIn and see how fucking good I'm doing. Like, it sounds crazy looking back, but I was 23 at the time. And I remember, like, because I'm still in touch with my old manager, and he always jokes around saying, I was never really a manager. I was just a top biller that just got given a fucking team. But that's classic in recruitment.
Classic,
He used to say to me whenever he used to catch up on the phone, he was just like, oh yeah, that sales director just saw you on LinkedIn in Ibiza, fuming. It's just like, he just thinks you're the most arrogant little piece of shit. And I'm just like, well, mate, I'm doing all right. Like, bought a brand new car when I was like 24. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, I'm doing quite well, and I'm living a good life. I'm going to Ibiza every year on the company and doing well. But it was a case of just, I wanted to just prove to those guys. But going back to your point, I resonate with that so much. I wanted to quit my job for like 6 months, did this business plan. I was like, right, I'm going to get this. Worst case scenario, they'll give me a job and I can set my own thing up. When that didn't come to fruition and I had to come back, I was soul destroyed. Like, and then having to sit there with the boss that I really didn't like, doing call coaching with a recruiter, my heart weren't in it no more. And then having those meetings just like, you're not doing enough, you need to be doing this. And I'm just sat there looking at him thinking, I just don't respect you. I don't respect you. I don't want to work for you anymore. I just don't have it in me. Right there and then, if I could go back in time, I know obviously everything happens for a reason, but I used to fantasize every night about writing a notice and then just saying, really appreciate the opportunity, but I'm gone. I'm going to go and set my own thing up. But then in October, I think it was, October 23. October 2023. Have you got a minute? Every single time a boss used to say, have you got a minute? My anxiety is like, I'm going to get fired. Oh my God, what have I done wrong? And I come in, they were just like, you could just see, they couldn't look me in the eye. They're like, look, business isn't doing great. We've got to, pull some things back.
So they did it for you, the favour.
They did it for me. And when they sat there, I was like, I'm sorry, but we're making you and your department redundant. I nearly jumped out my seat, Emma.
Wow.
Like, I literally went ear to ear, went, really?
Yeah.
Oh my God, you're joking. I was like, guys, I say this with the most respect. I've been thinking about quitting for 6 months. They were like, sorry, what? Like, because normally in a redundancy thing, like my L&D consultant, Shinsia, bless her, she was so emotional because she was so invested. I was helping her in her career and trying to get her a pay rise. So when she got made redundant, she wasn't in a position to think about setting up a business. Her main thing was, fuck, I'm going to be out of a job before Christmas. What am I going to do?
Exactly.
Whereas me, I was like, great, I'm going to set up a business. Not thinking I've got a mortgage, we're trying for a kid, it's going to be Christmas, all that type of stuff. So I just ear to ear, and I was like, well, at least you'll pay me for my notice. And they were like, we're making cuts, so we'll probably won't be able to. And I was like, I'll look at my contract and I'll get back to you. They're like, no, this is a redundancy, so I'm not sure. And I was like, I'll look at my contract. Obviously looked at my contract. If you get me redundant, they have to pay your notice, right? So I was like, cool. So luckily I'd saved any bonus that I had. So I had like $5,000 savings and then my monthly salary. So when I sat down with my missus and I was like, right, I'm going to set this coaching business up for the next 6 months. We just have to live like we're broke. We'll just pay the bills. We'll just, we'll eat cheap dinners, whatever. But this is what I'm going to do. And the guy I was going to go into business with, one of his recruiters recruited L&D professionals. And he called me up and was like, look, mate, if this don't work out, I could easily get you a job. Can I spec your profile out? Similar to you, I was like, mate, I'm never going to work for anyone else ever again. I was like, sure, if you want to use my CV to open work for you, great. But if you ever get me an interview, just tell them I'm going to be a consultant. And if they want to pay for an external, and I'll just give you like a cut of that. And he was like, yeah, I know, mate, but look, the market, I'll be honest, mate, it's not really a great time to be setting this type of thing up. I mean, don't care. It could be the middle of a pandemic, World War III, don't care. Like, this is going to work. I don't care. So I went for an interview and they were like, well, I really like you, but we want to have someone full time. And I was like, if you want to consult with me, fine, I'll give you a good rate. If not, then cool, go and work with someone else. And they were just like, "Oh, are you sure about this?" I was like, "It will work. It has to."
Yeah.
And then lo and behold, after 2 months of not winning a client yet, not knowing what the fuck I'm doing, I'm sure you kind of gone through a similar thing. You're sat in front of your computer like, right, I don't have a boss to tell me what to do. I haven't got any money coming in. You look at your savings, you're like, You look at your two credit cards, you're like, okay, all right, what am I going to do? Shit. And then I remember going to meet another coach in London, and he just smiled at me and said, "Everyone's been there, mate, but just trust me, you'll be very successful." And I was like, "You say that? I haven't won a fucking client.
You don't know,
I don't know, mate. Trust me, like those nights that you're having, because for the first 6 months I couldn't sleep at night.
Of course.
Because my wife is just sleeping like that. Everything's fine. She wakes up, "Do you want a coffee?" And I'm like, yeah, sure, okay, fuck.
Yeah.
What am I going to do? Just thinking like,
it's going to work.
How is this going to work?
That's exactly what I was going through as well. But look, I didn't have the whole, oh, the market's shit right now, don't go and do this, or that success story where like I had no one there for me. No, I had everyone there for me. I had my family. They all said they go for it. My husband as well. My husband even said like, I'll get another job just to support us, just in case and everything. So he was doing 2 jobs. But before this, I also used to do podcasts, and there was one guy that I brought onto the podcast, and he is a major CEO of an FX broker. And when we finished that podcast, he basically said to me, "So how come you haven't set up your own business yet?" Because I was obviously still working with the other guys. I was like, "No, I'm just too scared. Like, I can't." And well, he's like, "Well, how much do you need?" And I was like, "Well, what do you mean?" And he goes, "Well, obviously you're not opening up your own business because you're afraid that, you're not going to make ends meet, and, you're in your comfort zone. So how much do you want, let's say, for you to leave that job and start your own thing?" And I said to him, "I don't know. All I know is that if I leave my company, I'm going to be on a 6-month non-compete, which means I'm in a chokehold and I can't contact any of my clients to start making an income. So I don't know, maybe I probably need about 20 grand, just, to pay my mortgage and everything, all of this stuff." And he goes, "Fine, I'll invest in you."
Wow.
Bless him. Tarek Shabib, best CEO of an FX broker based out in Dubai. And he goes, "I'll invest in you. And in 1 year, you give it back to me." Because I don't want anything from it. I don't want you to double it.
That's insane.
I'll give you 20 grand if you go and open up this thing for yourself.
Wow.
I was like, "Tarek, you don't even know me. Why would you do this?" And he goes, "No, but I do see your potential. And I've known of you for all these years in the industry. And you shouldn't be working for someone else. Go do it."
Damn.
And I said to him, "Are you serious? You're going to give me money?" And he goes to me, "Yes. And in 1 year, you give it back to me. I don't want anything from it. And don't go back home," he goes to me, "and speak with your husband and hesitate on this."
Be fucking decisive,
he goes, "You quit. And then once you do that, I will transfer you the money."
Damn.
And he goes, "You have nothing to be afraid of. With your 6-month non-compete, it's fine. You're going to be fine because your bills are going to be paid, and you just focus on setting up your company." And at that time it was like, all right, here's my fucking push. That's it. There's nothing to be afraid of anymore. Of course I was still, because shit, I'm going to go and open up my own company. Yeah. What do you mean? So I accepted it. Went in, resigned. It was terrible, horrible. I hated it. It was like leaving my best friends as well.
Yeah.
Not nice. But okay, it happened. And, I start the business. I registered the company in April. Everything starts kind of okay. But again, like I was also working my notice.
Yeah.
And obviously at the same time, couldn't really bring in new clients that were my clients there. And so they did actually let me go a week earlier from that. Yeah. And so after that, basically what had happened was I was also pregnant at the time when I resigned, by the way. Wow. Yeah. And knowing that I was pregnant and I'm going to leave this place, it was a huge, it was very scary. Obviously, you leave your comfort zone. But anyway, after finding out I was pregnant and resigning and, you know, setting up the company, I had also gone through a miscarriage as well.
Sorry to hear.
It's okay, thank you. And it was just like, it was April of 24 was the most craziest fucking year of my life, right? And then come 1st of May, I start working properly, okay? And that Tarek, basically, he sends the money, he's like, you know, everything's good now. Also, he didn't send the full amount.
Oh, did he not?
He only sent half of it, and he goes, when you need the rest, you let me know. I said to him, fine.
All right, fair.
It's like he knew.
Yeah, because
right?
I think a lot of people, when they get like investment, they just go and buy a car. Right?
Yeah,
Do you know what I mean?
exactly. And so I start on the 1st, everything's great. Come 2nd May of 24, I get a call from my cousin in Cyprus, and he says that your dad's passed away and you need to come to Cyprus.
Oh my God.
And obviously my whole world has collapsed.
Yeah.
Quit, had a miscarriage, dad's just passed away, and I'm trying to set up a company.
How far along were you when it came to the miscarriage?
I was about a month.
Okay.
A month.
Because we went through that last year.
Yeah, I read
May.
that you did on your LinkedIn. You had posted it.
A week before our 1 year anniversary, I think, wedding anniversary.
Horrible.
It's rough. I think it was just before the 12-week mark. No, just before the 19-week mark.
Yeah.
So just as we were about to go, literally a week before the 20-week scan, and then that happened. And I'll be honest, it's like, you know, I empathise. I wasn't the one going through it, but it was.
I mean, the men go through it as much as the women do.
Yeah, it's a different type of thing we go through, and like it didn't hit me until like because the whole time you just have to be strong for your partner.
Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Like the first day we come home, I just see her in bed looking at the baby scan, crying her eyes out, and I'm like, I just have to be strong. I just have to be the one that she looks at and knows everything's gonna be okay. Yeah. And after like 3 months, and I'm back to work, like consulting, because I'm running my own business, and every single recruiter is hugging me, like they're teary-eyed. I'm so sorry you had to go through that, man. It's horrible. And I'm like, I'm fine. I'm fine. And then I went to an exhibition, and one of the guys I'm going into business was there, and he lost his dad. And he said that grief hits men typically
differently as well.
It takes a little while. And he's like, you don't look yourself. Is there anything that you'd like to do right now? And my bottom lip was going, and I was like, I just want to go to a pool hall away from anyone and just play pool. I just don't want to be, you know what exhibitions are like, hey, what do you do? This is my business. And I'm just sat there, I've just lost a baby.
Yeah, it's delayed grief.
Yeah, it was rough. And then it was one of Rosie's best mates' 30th birthday, and her family own a big farm, so they was going to do like a big party, pool, all this type of stuff. I literally put myself in the caravan for a whole day, just watching YouTube by myself. I just couldn't deal with anything.
It was good though. Like, thankfully you did do that, and you obviously went with your emotions, because, you know, like, who knows where you would have been right now if you didn't go through that, in a sense, with your grief. Yeah. And it's good that you did that, and you didn't like ignore it.
Yeah,
in a sense.
100%.
But you know, you have a beautiful baby now.
Yeah, absolutely, little rugrat.
Yeah, and congratulations.
Thank you.
So yeah, you know, like, obviously it wasn't easy. All of this was happening, and my dad passing away, and the company, obviously I couldn't do anything because I was grieving myself.
Yeah.
And, you know, my dad wasn't married. My dad was married, obviously, to my mum, but they divorced. And so he wasn't married to anyone else. So the next thing is it goes down to his kids, right? Mm-hmm. So everything my dad owned, assets, businesses, everything came on to me.
Fuck. Jesus.
And I'm trying to run my own company, and now I've got another 4 companies on me.
Christ.
And I've got to run around for lawyers and everything with the families and whatnot. And it was a lot. It was a lot. And I was out in Cyprus for 2 months. I didn't do anything with the business. And, you know, I had no stream of income coming in. But at least I had, you know, that 10 grand that Tarek had given me that would just pay off my bills. Yeah. And thankfully, I did get that help, because if I didn't have that help from him, then, I don't know, in that summer, they probably would have taken our house away. Not really, because like George, my husband, would have been working and paying it off, but still, like, you know, it was a massive help. So even though we weren't supposed to start in May, I ended up starting completely properly in August of last year. In that August, I started bringing in clients, and I made obviously 3 really big placements, huge ones. And I had obviously sent back the money that he had given me. And I thanked him for, for everything, because if it wasn't for him, then I don't know what would have happened. And then the non-compete came to an end, and we just skyrocketed after that, because, I went back to my clients. They were like, oh, thank God you're back, and this and that. But of course, with me in the absence of leaving the other company and starting my own, now we're like competitors in a sense, because, we're working the same kind of like clients as well.
Yeah, of course.
So although it's kind of like we're competitors in a sense, it doesn't matter, we have competition every day, everywhere, with everyone in a sense. And so I wouldn't say it went sour, but the
relationship
friendship,
would have changed.
the relationship changed.
Of course, yeah.
And it's sad, but again, I thank God that, I had the experience of working with these guys. Generally the company, it made me who I am. And yeah, so like I'm really grateful. And the shit that I had gone through last year, I don't think if I didn't go again like through all of that, then I wouldn't be where I am today. And my work ethic is 100 times more than what it was when I started off. Because when I started with fear. Although I had the 10 grand to help me on this and that, I was still working with fear. But then come August, and I saw my potential of what it means to fucking work, because, next month you're not going to have that money. It just made me, hustle even more kind of thing. So yeah.
Man, what a fucking story.
Yeah.
Like, what a fucking story.
Crazy
And I
story.
always love hearing stories like that, where people have just gone through like an unfathomable amount of adversity. And obviously, as you know, I work a lot with anything from trainee recruiter to founder level. And a trait that I see in some of the best recruiters are people that have either got through adversity, whether it's in life or personal life, whatever. And sometimes, you've got those people that have a somewhat privileged background. They've never had to worry about money. They don't, they have had no health issues, no family health issues. And then they get into the job of recruitment, and their first call, someone's telling them to fuck off. They're like, oh no, adversity. But you've got those certain people that even if they have come from that background, they just have this almost like a natural aptitude for grit, for being able to just like take it on the chin. Yeah, they're just resilient people, and they take it on the chin. They can just go again. And I think just for your story, like people listening to this will probably think, fuck, like even if they haven't had to go through the shit that you went through, like that for me, and I had a guest ask me the question, like, what makes a successful recruiter? I think personally, resilience is like...
Resilience and grit is what makes you a successful recruiter. Anyone can be a recruiter. Anyone can scroll LinkedIn daily. Anyone can do it, But if you don't have the discipline to actually sit on LinkedIn, yes, and scroll, but really scroll on LinkedIn. It's not just like scrolling whatever, or like just generally headhunting in general. If you don't have that kind of discipline to do that on a daily basis and pick up the phone and call people and everything, then recruitment's not for you. You're just there for the basic salary. You're better off just going and getting a proper, like, I don't know, corporate job, just not in recruitment, because it's not for everyone.
It's not.
And you've got to be like, you've got to have a shield over you in a sense, because the amount of rejection that we get as people in recruitment is insane.
Yes, it's brutal.
But now I'm just like, I don't give a shit. You're saying no to me, then fine, I'm speaking to the wrong person. Let's go above and beyond,
100%.
kind of thing. But yeah, you need grit to be in this industry.
Man, I designed a training academy for a client recently, because obviously my last job I used to do an academy every single month, or every other month, and they wanted me to just design their academy. And on day one, so day one was like the onboarding, here's the tech, here's the market. Day two, I do this presentation called Rules of Engagement, which is, here's what we expect of you, this is what to expect of us, this is the job. And then we go into things like growth mindset versus fixed mindset, grit, etc. And I'll never forget, the founder looked at it and was like, grit? I've heard that term before, and I was like, it's guts, resiliency, intention, and tenacity. It's based off the book by Angela Duckworth, and she worked a lot and done many studies with Carol Dweck, who's the author of the book Mindset, which both those books just, sometimes you read a book, listen to a book, it goes, your brain just all of a sudden doubles. You're like, oh shit.
Mind shift
completely, right? And he was just like, oh, okay, why do this like on the first day? Like, do you not want to go into like a proper like sales module? And I was like, mate, you can teach people the bulletproof process on how to pull a new job, the bulletproof process on how to qualify a candidate. You could teach people your process and what's worked for you, great. But if they don't understand the fundamentals on, here's the dog.
Oh, hello.
Fantastic. Hello, mister.
Hello. It's like he knows we're finishing up.
Marshall, chill. I don't want you to make too much noise. But yeah, if you don't have the mindset, if you don't have grit, all that process is pointless, in my opinion.
Yeah,
It's absolutely pointless.
you're right. You're 100% right. So yeah, being a recruiter, you've got to have grit and resilience. Okay, you can give them a quick cookie.
We'll give you some treats whilst we're doing the podcast. It's a treat for not us, but everyone else that's watching and listening. So before we sort of wrap up then, because we've been going about 45 minutes or so, that's it. Marshall, what do you think makes a good recruiter? I'm joking.
Treats, only treats.
So talk us very briefly then, just make sure he's not bashing into the lapel mics, but talk us through briefly then, when you set up, actually, you can go around this either way. Obviously,
okay,
Marshall, chill, please. Whether it was like when you set that desk up at that company or when you've had to do it for yourself, I'm always really fascinated on how people have gone around building markets and like, you talked a lot about the discipline, headhunting, what whether you actually have one or not, like what has been your process to kind of build that market?
I think it's just consistency. Mm-hmm. Just be consistent. If you're hired to open up a specific market, be consistent. Speak to the people you're supposed to be speaking with, HR, CEOs, C-level generally. Just consistency, discipline. It's exactly what will make you successful in the market that you're trying to like reach out to.
Yeah.
And have really good time management as well. So you can.
So on those two things then, so when it comes to the consistency aspect, a lot of recruiters I deal with are quite inconsistent, and the discipline aspect goes out the window a lot of the times. So if we think about the specific around building out like your desk, for example, what were the key things, if you could name maybe 3 things, maybe it might be less or more, that you were consistent on and had the discipline on to really actually build that desk?
So not taking no for an answer.
Okay, yeah.
Time management as well. Time management, I mean like, okay, I'm going to do BD for this amount of time and then searching for people for this amount of time. Not taking no for an answer, meaning that I'm speaking to the wrong person, right? So who else can I find that will give me that yes? And also it was a lot to do with you need a supervisor, someone you can look up to, a good mentor. If you don't have these 3 things, like for me, if I didn't have one of the, although we had 2 co-founders in the company, there was one specific co-founder that I would always go to for advice. Yeah. And I feel like if I didn't have his advice and supervision, then I couldn't do these 3 things to become successful. So you need a good mentor. Find one if you don't have one. Yeah. Do your L&D, find someone who does L&D and maybe that person could be your mentor. Time management gives you discipline too. Yeah. And then don't take no for an answer. Absolutely not. You're telling me no, I'm talking to the wrong person here, kind of thing. Yeah. Stop gatekeeping, kind of thing. Yeah. So yeah, those would be the 3 things I feel that would make you successful. It made my desk successful, so I don't see why it shouldn't make someone else's desk successful.
I think those are stellar points. I literally, the most recent coaching sessions I had a whole day of coaching with a client, and I think, all 3 of the consultants, but that was their first job in recruitment. And both the founders sat down with me and said, right, we've got some bullet points of what we want you to work on with the guys, but get them to tell you what they think they need to work on. And every single one was day planning. Yeah. And I'll put my hands up. When I was a recruiter, my boss always used to give me shit because I didn't do my day plan the day before, or, he'd be like, what are you working on? And because of the way my personality is bad, but it's kind of made me somewhat successful, my definition of success is not having to worry about money, sure, but I just want to be able to do what the fuck I want when the fuck I want.
Exactly.
Which sounds like a real child response.
Yeah.
You know, if I want to do this, I'm just going to do that. And in working in a recruitment role, that, you know, that doesn't, you know, if you really want to make something for yourself, you have to be disciplined in some aspects. So I basically sat down with those guys and said, okay, so what does your typical day plan look like? And the key question was, when do you divert away from that? When does it change? And they all gave the same type of response, like, oh, if one of the directors pulls a new job, I just stop doing BD and I'll do that. Or, oh, if another job comes in, or if I haven't filled this job, then I've just got to search one job all day.
No, I feel that's where it goes wrong.
This is exactly what I said. And like one of the guys, I sat down and I was like, so just because I used to be a sales manager, right? And my sales director was very like structured. I was like, so you're telling me you've worked one role all week? Not just all day, all week. And they're like, yeah, but I'm the only recruiter on it. I was like, okay, so all your other KPIs that, again, a lot of trainees, they see KPIs as just like, oh, they're just getting me to hit a number for numbers' sake. You've not generated any new leads, any new businesses, no candidates for your sales team to spec out, nothing, because you've just been doing that. And I gave the analogy of like, you know, when you like lose something in your bedroom or like in the front room, like we always lose the remote. If you just search around the house for a whole hour and you can't find it, are you going to continue for another hour? No. Go out for a walk, go and make lunch, do something, come back, and lo and behold, you'll probably find it. It's the same thing when you're searching. I used to be like that in the fucking trenches on LinkedIn and go, I can't find anyone. I'll do some BD for an hour, and then I come back and go, oh, I missed this candidate. They were right in front of my eyes. So what helped you when it comes to time management? Because I'll be honest, most recruiters, that's like a real thing that they struggle with.
What, time management? I don't know. I feel like I just, like, okay, wake up in the morning, we open the PC, and I know that for the first 3 to 4 hours, I'm doing BD. And then the rest of the day, I'm going to just source. But that doesn't mean that it's consistent like that. I could wake up in the morning and be like, I'm going to source now and then do BD later. But then again, or understanding and knowing when you should stop, you know, a specific project. Like, I can't be searching for someone, a specific role for X amount of time and not knowing when to stop for it. Is it really that urgent? Or am I just trying to like fill time? So for me, I feel like, I don't know, in general, I've always had discipline. So some things are very like common sense to me and how to do things. I don't know if you probably can teach time management, but it's a skill that you embed in yourself in a sense. So like, I don't know, I went to private school, so like, you know, you had to have your shirt tied and your tie tied and all of that stuff. So discipline was a huge thing as well in my household. So time management was always very strict, and, you know, your please and your thank yous and this and that. So I don't know, maybe take my advice, maybe don't, but, you know, try to discipline yourself in a sense of, I'm going to be working this many hours on this role, and if you do 360, then you're going to do business development in the next hours until you finish up or whatever. And yeah, that's really it, how you can basically do it.
Yeah, it's a similar type of philosophy. Have you heard of the Eisenhower matrix?
No.
So you have a task that's urgent, important, so do it. You have a task that is important but it's non-urgent, so you know, you'll plan to do that. You have something that is not urgent, not important, so just delete it. And then you have something that is important, non-urgent. I might be getting this all wrong, but it's along those lines, which is that you delegate. So when I was a sales manager, if something popped up that was important but it weren't urgent, I would get someone else to do that. If it was urgent, important, like client wants to
prioritize your roles.
That's exactly it. And it's like, if you've got 10 jobs to work, 2 of them are retained and exclusive, that's your urgent, important roles. But if a client messages you back from an email saying, hey, Emma, really like Charles, let's set up a call, the role's going to go live tomorrow, would you then just look at that and go, right, okay, I'll plan to call that person at the end of the day, I'm just sourcing a job now? No. You would call them up and say, right, let's take this job on. Candidate finishes an interview, texts you and says, all right, I'm about to get in the car for an hour, call me to get interview feedback. You call them, right?
Yes.
Those are like the urgent, important ones. But I think a lot of people, when they start off in recruitment, because like you said, it's something you learn over time, it's the prioritizing certain things
Exactly.
of, okay, I've been working a job for a fucking week. This,
It's not,
yeah,
nothing's coming out of it.
yeah,
Let's, bring it back, speak to the client again, let them know that we've been working on this role and we've been having this difficulty. Be transparent with your clients as well. Like if you're not transparent with your client and letting them know that, yes, we are having difficulty, are you flexible maybe doing this and this and this? So then that way it makes your job easier to go and source
yeah.
for that
100%.
client in a sense. So yeah.
Yeah. So before I wrap up then, since you've set up your own business, what's been the most eye-opening what's been like the most eye-opening experience or something that you have learned that maybe you didn't know before setting up your business that has kind of broadened your mind and allowed you to have the success that you've had?
I wouldn't call myself successful just yet. But I feel like I am successful in a sense where I can work my own times.
Yeah.
And, I think that is success for me. What I've learned along this whole time is not following the bullshit of what TikTok tells you or like social media tells you, in a sense. Wake up at 5 a.m. and, meditate and no, like that shit does not work for me. I wake up, yes, I wake up early around 6:30 every day and then start my job by 7 a.m. until, like whatever time I feel like, no, not whatever time I feel like working. We work until 4. But like if I feel like, I need to do something in between the day, I can go because, I'm not bound to anyone. But the most eye-opening thing for me would be how I listen to my gut now more.
Okay.
Before, I never used to listen to my gut. In the sense, I used to always listen to what other people's advice was because I had the employee mentality. And now shifting to being, in a founder's mentality, and I don't have anyone to speak to or get the advice and all of that. I have only me, myself, and I to think of, right? So any decision I make, I see and ask myself, how do I feel about this? If I don't know, I will seek help for it. And I feel like I have learned a lot about myself on this founder's journey kind of thing because there is a lot of stuff I didn't know about me.
Yeah.
And, the resilience I also have as well. Because what I went through, not just opening up an agency, but, like my dad passed away. That's like a huge gap in someone's life. And how do you navigate life? And I'm learning to navigate my life now without having a father figure here. I'm also navigating being a newlywed as well. So like I've learned so much throughout this year. And it's okay to do mistakes as well. No one's perfect. I have fucked up within like this year of opening. And I feel like if I haven't messed up, then, I wouldn't know what to do now.
I think, by the way, on that, and by the way, I think that's a superb answer. The making mistakes thing is absolutely critical. Like for people listening to this that are new to setting up a business, thinking about setting up a business, I think everyone has this mindset of like, can't make a mistake because, if I don't win this account, then, the money won't come in. I'll tell you a very quick anecdote. I'll make a long story short. When I set my coaching business up the first year, I don't know if you experienced this, but a few other founders I've spoken to, you kind of go through this weird honeymoon period where people kind of want to give you a chance because you're new, and other business owners are like, oh, like you're setting up, that's a brave move. Yeah, we'll take you on for a few months, and you start to earn money, and you get this false sense of security, like, oh, this is pretty.
No,
all
I
right.
had the complete opposite.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll tell you this, and then I want to hear about that. But it's not easy. Like it was still hard, but like people were just going, yeah, like your energy. Like I'm one of the, I think I'm like, in terms of a lot of the external L&D people, I'm one of the youngest. I'm only 31, right? So a lot of recruiters are a similar type of age. So people are like, yeah, fine, we'll bring you on. Anyway, start of this year, I had a big pipeline, and 90% of it just didn't come through, right? A lesson I learned that if someone says yes on December 20th, the likelihood of them saying yes again on January 2nd might not necessarily come through. It's like, cool, no worries. Then someone in my network had set me up a meeting with this big, I didn't realize how big they were, a big recruitment firm. But every single meeting, Emma, I used to go to, I'd bring my laptop, I'd bring like some like printouts and stuff. They just have a one-to-one chat, go, yeah, go meet the recruiters. Yeah, sound, we'll work with you. So I just left the house, didn't bring my laptop, didn't bring anything.
Yeah.
Didn't realise I'm sat down in front of the CSO, the CMO, the CEO, the CTO, and the head of L&D. And I just came so unprepared. I wore like an okay outfit, but again, like the CEO was just like, you should have worn a shirt. I was like, all right, dickhead,
whatever.
all right,
Yeah.
whatever. But basically, halfway through the meeting, the CEO just like stood up and was like, mate, like, we're all visual people. You've not even brought a fucking laptop. Is this a joke? And I was like, like every meeting I've gone to, no, sorry, mate, I've just got to fucking let this out, and just went at me.
Really?
Yeah. And it was like going back to being an
I would
employer
die.
again. Yeah, I was literally cringing inside, like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm getting a bollocking on a client meeting. And he said, do you know what the funny thing is, mate? Like, the chat you've given, your knowledge, your expertise, if you just had a fucking laptop, I would have paid you a shitload of money.
Yeah.
But the reality is, we're probably not going to work with you now. And then one of the other guys was like, look, what are you trying to say? And they're trying to be nice. And you did a really good job. It's just, if you're going to teach people BD and you don't come to a client meeting prepared, what does that really say?
Totally, but that gave you,
oh my God,
it was your stepping stone now that you're never going to do that again.
Oh my God, I called my missus on the way home. I was like, yeah, I'm going to be home in like 20, 30 minutes. She was like, how was it? I was like, yeah, I don't want to talk about it. Didn't put the Spotify on, nothing, just in silence on the drive home, just like teary-eyed, like, and because my pipeline all died, and that was a big thing, and now I'm not going to get that. I was like, I fucked it. Anyway, the reason why I'm mentioning that is, like you said, you sometimes need to go through those experiences that I say, like the metaphor, because I do a lot of martial arts, you need to get kicked in the face to realise not to drop your guard, right? Anyway, just before around Rosie's due date, I went to a meeting. Again, someone in my network had referred me to them. They wanted to do an academy every single quarter. I brought my laptop. I wore a shirt. I brought everything. I even got my client that I did a recent academy with to email the guy, and I didn't tell them what to say. I just said, can you just tell them what the academy was like? Can you forward me the email after you sent it? Geezer sent like a fucking essay. Best L&D person I've ever worked with. I've worked with over 10 people in the industry. This is why he's good. This person done a deal in their first month because of his training. And then literally the day before Rosie was induced to go into labour, I get the call and was like, mate, your presentation was unbelievable. Your energy was unbelievable. The fucking email, the golden email from your client, what a fucking touch, mate. Like, yeah, basically we want to go with you and it'll be a long-term thing. I literally got my hand like on my knees in the ward, put the thing on mute, and went, fuck yeah! Like, you could see all the midwives like, what the fuck? I went, sorry. And I was like, dude, honestly, you have no idea how much I fucking needed this right now.
Best feeling.
And I was, because I wear my heart on my sleeve, I just said to him, I was like, mate, if it weren't for that client that brutally told me what for,
ripped you on,
I would have gone in, and it's easy, I think, to if you have had the success, it's easy to just be like, yeah, fine, I'll just use my personality.
Yeah.
But you need to go through those experiences to then go, okay, this is my next evolution type thing.
Exactly.
But you said it was different for you.
It was different for me, yeah, because it was just me, and then they were like, well, why would we use it? It's just you. So then I had to...
Oh, yeah, I suppose it is different, yeah, because my thing is always just a one-man band L&D person, but for a recruitment firm,
it was like,
different.
okay, I have to hire people now. So I had to hire a delivery team so it can look like, we're legit in a sense. But yeah, it wasn't easy. It's kind of easier now, but it's not an easy road when you start off on your own. But if you are a person who is thinking about doing it, do it. And although I was lucky enough to get funded for it, not everyone's going to have that. But my advice would be is, if you're thinking to do it, then save for at least save a 6-month
like
salary,
a buffer,
buffer thing to do it, because you don't know what's going to happen within those 6 months kind of thing. And we say 6 months because obviously you might have a non-compete. It will take you 6 months to build that pipeline of clients and, for you to set off kind of thing. But yeah.
100%, mate. Awesome story. As you know, I finish every episode with the same question. I feel like you've probably given loads of these types of things throughout the episode, but following today's episode, how can people get 1% better in recruitment?
Right. So, given the 3 that we gave, like discipline, time management, and having your own mentor, definitely, do those 3 things. But to be 1% better, I feel that have a mentor. I think that is very important. and always have someone that you can speak to. And if you're in a room full of people and you're the only one with the most knowledge, you're in the wrong fucking room. So be in a room full of people who you want to learn from, and, you know, take their advice and all of that stuff. So I feel that in general will make you 100% better in recruitment, but also as a person too.
Yeah. 100%. Amazing. Great answer to a great episode, Emma. Thank you very much for coming in. I'll put all your details at the bottom of the episode, and for people that have made it this far, you know what to do. And we'll see everyone next week.
Thank you for having me.
Nice one. Thank you so much for watching this episode or listening to this episode, guys. Let me know, what was your biggest takeaway from this week's guest? What did you think about their answer to the 1% better in recruitment? I'm really keen to hear your thoughts. If you haven't already, please drop us a like if you're on YouTube, follow on Apple and Spotify, connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'm really, really keen to get some feedback from you all on what you think about the format of these episodes. Are there any other guests that you think we should have on the show? Are you someone that wants to be a guest on the 1% Better Recruitment Podcast? Because if so, you can just simply DM me on LinkedIn, you can drop me an email, all my details are below on these videos. And I'm always interested in having absolute legends come on the show that want to have real open conversation, that want to talk about things that could even be potentially controversial. We could debate certain things, but the whole point, as I mentioned at the start of the video, guys, is that my whole purpose with this show is to help the recruitment industry get 1% better after every episode. So make sure you're following, subscribing on all the different platforms, and I'll see you next week.